said I do with her whole chest, but the fine print was different from the request. She wanted the title, the ring, the name, but none of the weight, none of the frame. She wanted his income, his protection, his hand, but to submit to his vision, that wasn't the plan. She wanted equality when it served her needs, but when duty called, she planted different seeds. He paid the bills, he fixed the roof, he stayed when times were solid or aloof. He led the mission, he built the base, but when he asked for her to hold her space as a wife, not a roommate, not a guest, she said, "You're controlling, you failed the test." She wanted the perks of the wife's domain, but none of the work, none of the strain. Rights without roles, she wants the crown, but she won't carry the kingdom's weight around. She wants him to lead, but won't let him guide. She wants him to provide, but won't stand by his side. She says, "I'm your partner," but acts like a guest. She took the vows, then failed the test. Rights without roles, that's not a wife, that's a consumer of the married life. He asked her to cook when he was sick. She said, "I'm not your mother, that's a trick." He asked her to help with the family plan. She said, "You're controlling me, I'm not your fan." He wasn't controlling, he was asking for a team, but she heard oppression in every dream. She wanted the benefits of the married name, but the responsibilities she wasn't game. Crown without the weight. She learned that lesson, but it came too late. Rights without roles. Son, find a woman who wants both, or you'll carry the kingdom alone and slowly choke. Say the word duty and watch her flinch, as if you'd asked her to carry a drench of water up a hill with no end. She acts like duty is a mortal sin, but marriage without duty is just a date that never ends and never creates a home, a legacy, a shared domain. It's just two people playing a non-committal game. He said a wife should cook for a man. She heard, "Get back to the frying pan." He said, "Supporting my mission, help me build." She heard, "Your dreams are gonna be killed." He wasn't asking for a slave or a maid, he was asking for partnership, for aid, in building something bigger than two egos. But she heard oppression through a mental seagull. Duty is a trigger word to the modern wife. She thinks responsibility will cost her life. But duty isn't slavery, it's a shared load. It's the brick and mortar of a long road. She wants the love without the labor. She wants the neighbor to call her neighbor. But when the work begins, she disappears, and he's left holding the unpaid years. He asked her to sacrifice a weekend trip, to save for the house, to build the grip. She said, "You're controlling my freedom, my joy." He wasn't controlling, he was being a boy who grew up, who knew what it takes to build a kingdom without the fake. She wanted the castle, but not the stone, and she ended up angry and alone. It's devotion. She confused the two. Now she's floating. The trigger word: son, find the woman who sees duty as love, not as a chain from above. She quotes bell hooks on her Instagram feed, talks about boundaries, about the seed of patriarchy, of oppression or shame. But ask her to do something uncomfortable, she's not the same. Her feminism is a lifestyle brand, not a mission, not a helping hand. It's for show, for likes, for the girl boss crowd. But when real sacrifice is asked, she's not proud. Wake up early for the kids, that's his job. Submit to a decision, she'll sob. Controlling, abusive, you're just like the rest. He wasn't controlling, he was giving a test of whether she'd bend when the wind was strong, or whether she'd leave when the road was long. She left, she blamed, she told her friends that he was the villain, she was the one. Where her feminism ends is where her comfort starts. She wants the world to change, but won't change her part. She wants equality when it lifts her higher, but responsibility, she's a liar. She talks about partnership, about shared dreams, but when the work begins, she's pulling at the seams. But feminism is a shield from the weight, not a sword, just a decorative plate. He watched her scroll through empowerment posts while the laundry piled up while the family coasted. She said she was fighting the system from her phone. He was fighting the silence, the cold, the alone. The revolution ended at her front door. She wanted applause, but she wouldn't labor for more than a caption, a hashtag, a curated scene. He needed a wife. She was a scream queen. Revolution, and she never knew the difference. Well, feminism ends. Son, find a woman whose values cost her something, not just a lifestyle, not just a flame. She married him, but acts like she's doing him a favor. Every chore is a burden, every sacrifice is a flavor of oppression she didn't sign up for. He's not a husband, he's a man she endures. She gave vows, but moves like she's single and free. She calls herself a wife, but won't bend her knee. Not literally, she's allergic to the word submit. She thinks marriage is a service she can quit. He asked her to help with the monthly budget. She said, "You're controlling, I'm not your subject." He asked her to plan for the children's school. She said, "You're stealing my freedom, that's cruel." He wasn't stealing, he was asking for the team. But she heard a prison, she heard a scream. He wanted a partner in the trenches of life. She wanted a sponsor to avoid her own strife. A volunteer and not vowing, she acts like she's a guest. In the marriage she chose, but she won't invest her time, her energy, her will to bend. She thinks her presence is enough, but it's not, friend. You can't build a home with a woman who thinks she's a volunteer. She'll leave when it's hard, she'll run when you're near, to the edge of something real, something true. She didn't want a marriage, she wanted a view. He finally asked her, "Why did you say yes?" She said, "I thought you'd be different, I guess." But she wasn't different, she was the same. A woman who wanted the glory without the frame of responsibility, of duty, of care. She thought marriage was something she could wear, like a dress, like a title, like a promotion. But marriage is a ship, not an ocean. thinks they're doing you a favor. They'll leave when the work becomes labor. Volunteering, not vowing. Son, don't marry a volunteer. Marry a woman who says "are" instead of "here." She said, "I love you every single day, but love without duty is just words at play." She showed up, she was present, she was there, but presence without purpose is just a chair. She occupied space, but she didn't build. She watched him labor, she watched him spill. His blood, his sweat, his tears, his years. And she called it partnership through the veneer. He asked her to contribute to the mission. She said, "My presence is my contribution, but a body in a room isn't a home, a warm chair isn't a backbone." He needed her hands, her mind, her will, but she was comfortable just being still. She thought showing up was enough for the day, but the house was crumbling while she looked away. Presence without purposes, just performance, son. She acted like a wife, but when the day was done, she hadn't held a brick, hadn't lifted a load. She just watched him carry the whole damn road. Love without duty is a performance art. She played the role, but not the part of a builder, a partner, a co-creator. She was a spectator, not a contributor. He finally broke and asked her, "What do you do?" She said, "I exist for you." Isn't that true? No, that's not enough. That's just being alive. A marriage requires both to strive. She didn't understand, she called him cruel, but he was just tired of being the mule. While she watched from her comfortable chair and called it love, but it wasn't there. Presence is not contribution, and a marriage of one is an institution. Presence without purpose. Son, find a woman who holds a brick, not one who watches while the wall grows thick. started building when he was 22. Brick by brick, he knew what he had to do. He wanted a woman to hold the other side, not to watch, not to run, not to hide. She came along, said she loved his vision, said she wanted to be his partner on the mission. But when the work began, she stepped away. I'm not your laborer, she had to say. He carried the bricks, he mixed the mortar. She criticized the design from the corner. This wall is too high, this window too small, but she never once helped him take a fall. He asked her to hold a single brick. She said, that's not my role, that's your trick. To make her work, to make her sweat. She wanted the castle without the debt. The brick holder, that's what he needed, son. A woman who'd work until the job was done. Not a queen who sat on a throne of his back. Not a spectator who'd give him the slack. If she thinks duty is oppression, she'll never hold a single brick in the kingdom you're trying to mold. She'll watch you crumble, she'll watch you fall, and she'll tell the world you built a wall. He's still building, but now he's alone. She left when the work became a stone, too heavy for her to pretend to carry. She didn't want a marriage, she wanted a fairy tale where the prince did all the work and the princess slept and didn't shirk. He's not bitter, he's just clear now. He knows what to ask before he takes a vow. Rare, but she exists. Son, don't settle for a woman who won't lift her wrists. The brick holder, find her, son, because if she thinks duty is oppression, you'll spend your life apologizing for leadership and carrying the whole kingdom alone. I love you. Now build with someone who holds the weight.